Hello, it's great to be with you today. I'm glad that you are having this leadership event on the beautiful campus at Indiana State University in Terre Haute. And in less than a month, I will be with you on campus for the better part of a week, speaking to student groups. I hope you will attend one of my presentations and allow me in person to thank you for this opportunity to conclude this leadership event. Thank you to Al Perone, Associate Dean and Ombudsperson, as well as my dear friend Frida for inviting me to come to you via this video so that I can present to you a concept of leadership that will prepare you to leave the campus at Indiana State and go out into the world and make a contribution to the betterment of your state, your nation, and your world. Never has our nation needed young people more than we need you now. Thomas Jefferson was right when he said a nation's best defense is an educated citizenry. And at Indiana State, we've gathered academic services, student services, intercollegiate activities. We've got intramurals, counseling, residential life, Greek life. Everything you need to make a masterpiece is there. And what I'm hoping to do today is to put a little icing on the cake so that you now will know what leadership is and the 10 characteristics that you will need to become an effective leader. I do want to say that this is the 5th installment of the Dr. Lee Guernsey Memorial Lecture Series. This will be the 5th year that I will be coming to campus in less than a month. Dr. Lee Guernsey taught at Indiana State University for 30 years. He was my wife's uncle, my mother-in-law's brother, got his PhD from Northwestern, came to Terre Haute and made it his home, lived there his entire professional life before he retired and eventually passed away down in Florida on St. George Island. His wife of many, many years, Ruth, still lives there. His family will see this video. And he was so generous to my wife and I with his time and his advice. He was one of the wisest men I know. It's a shame you won't get to take a class from him, but he taught several famous alumni from your university, including Larry Bird. I love Larry Bird, and I asked him one time, I said, Uncle Lee, what kind of student was Larry Bird? And he said, Larry Bird came to class every day. Also, Indiana State's special to me because John Wooden coached there. After he graduated from Purdue, he was an All-American, wound up being in the Coaches Hall of Fame as well as the players. John Wooden, who went to UCLA, coached 27 seasons, had 27 winning seasons, 19 conference championships, 10 national championships, 7 in a row, 4 with undefeated seasons. But more importantly to me, when he was at Indiana State, he took 2 African-American players to a postseason tournament. In their defense, it was not the NCAA, but it was the precursor. They had a postseason tournament, 1957, which you may know is 7 years before the Civil Rights Act was signed. And when they got to the tournament site, the tournament director came to John Wooden, the coach of Indiana State University, and said, you should take the Negro boys home. It's just going to cause trouble. And John Wooden, a great Hoosier, a great Indiana State Sycamore, said, I don't see color, I see effort. And if 2 of my players aren't welcome here, none of my players are welcome. And he literally put his team back on the train and went home to Terre Haute, Indiana. So Indiana State's always been a special place to me. Al and I and Frida have been friends for over 30 years, and I thank you for this opportunity. Let's get busy. Leadership is the process of persuasion and example by which an individual or leadership team induces a group to take action that is in accord with the leader's purposes or the shared purposes of all. Now, some of you probably are saying, Dr. Keim, can you slow down? 2 things. Number 1, I've provided notes from this lecture. You'll be getting those at the end of my presentation that you can take home with that definition from Dr. John Gardner at the Hoover Institute at Stanford University. Secondly, most people speak at about 250 words a minute. Your brain can take in 750 words a minute, which is why every 7 seconds, when they're talking so slowly, your brain unwillingly says, sex. And you say, what? And you lose your train of thought. By the way, those of you that are real conservative right now not only have thought about sex, but you're feeling guilty that you thought about it. So by the authority vested in me by me, I absolve you and give you forgiveness. I'm going to speak quickly. You have to keep up because you're going into a world, as Peter Ueberroth, my fraternity brother, said, where change better be in your DNA. Peter Ueberroth, chairman of the United States Olympic Committee, former commissioner of baseball, Delta Upsilon member from San Jose State University, spoke to us this summer, 75 years old, sharp as a tack. And we asked him, what's the number 1 thing we should tell students? And he said, tell them that they better have change in their DNA. So I want you to keep up. Again, leadership is the process of persuasion and example by which an individual or leadership team induces a group to take action that is in accord with the leader's purposes or the shared purposes of all. Work through that definition with me now and think about it as we go along. Leadership is the process. It's not a person. Don't wait for people in Indianapolis nor Washington, D.C. to solve your problems. A friend of mine, Haley Barbour, was the governor of the great state of Mississippi. He is an SAE fraternity member. I have a picture in my home of him with my children. And Haley Barbour was the governor of Mississippi when Katrina hit the Gulf Coast. They asked him, what are you going to do? He said, we're not going to wait on the federal government. He said, I used to work for them, and they ain't coming. Mississippians will help Mississippians. Black Mississippians will help white Mississippians. White Mississippians will help black Mississippians. Asian, Hispanic, poor, rich, country, city, and Mississippi got up off the turf and was reopened for business before the great state of Louisiana could even figure out how to get trailers down to help people who were living on the beach. You have to be involved in the process, which means, number one, you need to vote. Less than 30% of the 18 to 24-year-olds in the last election voted. You need to get involved in the process. If you're in charge of a committee, a fraternity, an organization, a residence hall association, and somebody bitches, give them a job. None of my children complain about anything because when they complain, they get a job. When they were little, Daddy, the dog pooped on the carpet. Thank you for cleaning it up before your mother comes home. She'll be very happy. If someone complains, I think the food at the last social function sucked. Say, would you be the chairman of next social functions food committee? They'll say, I didn't know we had one. You'll say, we do now. Get involved in the process. Engage. Leadership is the process of persuasion and example. What is persuasion? Persuasion means getting people to do what you want them to do that's in their own best interest and having them think it's their own idea. So by definition, leaders have to be humble. Collins wrote a great book called From Good to Great. And in that book, Good to Great, Collins said, great leaders know the analogy of the window and the mirror. The window and the mirror. Great leaders know that when things go well, they look out the window and they give credit to everybody they see. Great leaders also know that when things go wrong, they look in the mirror and they accept responsibility. Leadership is the process of persuasion and example because there's no substitute for leadership by example. If you're going to be a leader, you need to be out front. I don't know in Indiana if you've ever seen a sled dog race, but we have several of them in Oregon and a whole bunch more up in Wyoming and in Alaska. And I'm going to tell you something. If you're not the lead sled dog, the view is always the same. You know what you're looking at? That's right, son. You're looking at somebody else's butt. So if you're going to be a leader, you got to get out front. You've got to be up there with ideas and initiation, part of the process, persuading people to join you, but most of all, being a good example. If some of you are RAs and you're getting blind drunk on the weekend, don't be surprised if the residents don't do the same thing. If you're in a fraternity, all I want you to do is live according to the values that you put on your posters. Nothing more than that, nothing less than that. Leadership is the process of persuasion and example by which an individual or leadership team induces a group to take action. Let me give you an example of action. When I get there in a month, I want every one of you to have a business card. Why do I want you to have a business card? Because is it my job to take out my pen and write your name down if I have an internship opportunity? And I have several internship opportunities with you for a company that I'm very fond of. One of my students has now become the director of collegiate recruiting for Northwestern Mutual Life. In the Portland area as an example, and it would be just the same in Indianapolis, do you realize in Portland they've got 60 paid internships where you could go out and learn sales techniques, learn about financial services for Northwestern Mutual Life? But am I supposed to write your name down to send it to my friend Annie Paragon? No, you need to have a business card. I'm going to see who paid attention to this when I meet you, and if you hand me a business card, I will give you a free book. You hand me a business card, I'll give you a free book from my library of 14 titles that I've written. Leadership is the process of persuasion and example by which an individual or leadership team induces a group to take action. Back up one word with me. I like to save this one for after action. Induce. When a woman's pregnant too long, do we force labor or induce it? Well, we induce. And I know what some of you are saying. Well, force, induce, it's the same thing. Language is so important. It is language that creates reality. Language creates reality. The more we say something like, I'm going to be successful, I'm going to do my homework, I'm going to live according to my principles, the more likely we are to do it. A cynical way that people say that is you have to fake it till you make it. I don't like the concept of faking it. But I am telling you that you need to speak what you want to become, who you want to become, what you want to do. Now, I'll prove it to you. Those of you that are on this side of the room, if you come out to Oregon, by the way, this is my front yard. That's Mary's Peak in the background. It's the highest peak in the Coast Range, over 4,000 feet. It's a beautiful day here in Oregon, about 60 degrees. If you come to my home, those of you on that side, I'll fix you filet mignon with mushrooms. unless you're a vegan, and then I'll make you risotto. Those of you on the other side, you can come the next day and I'll fix you dead cow with fungus. Now friends, it's the same thing, filet mignon with mushrooms or dead cow with fungus. But didn't theirs sound better? Language, you guys say, I love the Indianapolis Colts. I love fishing. I love my truck. And Debbie, I love you. And she goes, I'm someplace between a trout, a football player, and his truck. We use language and we need to use the words we mean. We talk about limited nuclear warfare. Well, you know what? If there was only one bomb fired in the whole world, everybody would say that's limited nuclear warfare. But if it was falling in the Holman Center and you were in there, it'd be total nuclear winter. So we need to quit saying words that actually don't fit the circumstances they describe. Leadership is the process of persuasion, an example, by which an individual or leadership team induces a group to take action, lastly, that's in accord with the leader's purposes or the shared purposes of all. And if you want to know what your shared purposes are, read the constitutions for your student organizations. Read your fraternity or sorority principles. Talk to the things you signed when you came to Indiana State that you agreed to live according to their mission statement. If you're in the church, our mission statement's very simple. Feed the hungry, house the homeless, give food to the hungry, visit the sick and imprisoned, water to the thirsty. We need to quit arguing about other stuff and just take care of people. The reality is, my friends, is that your shared principles, your values, are what you will act on. That's what leadership is. Now, do you want to be a leader? I said, do you want to be a leader? Of course you do. Then I want you to work on 10 things for me. Number one, the most important thing you need to do if you want to be a leader is to listen to me. If you're not laughing now, you should be. You should listen to your parents. Well, some of you should have stopped listening to your parents when you were 6 years old. One young man told me recently at a university in Washington that his dad told him, son, you're dumb, you're slow, you're learning disabled. The only thing you could ever hope to be, son, is cannon fodder for the military. It was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking. Now, I don't know what messages you've been told. I was told I could become anything and do anything. Maybe you got that message, maybe you didn't. But you need to listen to your voice, which means you need to turn off your little machines, your computers, get off the internet, shut the damn computer, and go meet some people. And listen to your voice and be able to extend that and express yourself to other people. I've got to spend 60 hours a week. If I hire you, I need to know that you've spent some reflective time. Helen Keller said, an unexamined life is no life at all. Number one, I want you to listen to your voice. Two, I want you to have empathy for the voices of others. I want you to realize when the Native Americans said, don't judge somebody till you've walked 1,000 moons in their moccasins, that was a good idea. Harvey Picard, the famous golf instructor and caddy, said, don't be in such a rush to judge people. Even God waits till the end. I want you to have empathy. The students on your campus that are drinking the most, yelling the most, and making the biggest fools of themselves are the ones that are crying out for the most love and need the most help. And how do I know that? That was me. Why was I that guy? I didn't want you asking me about my home life. We moved 36 times when I was a kid because we never paid our rent. I didn't ask you asking me about my parents because my parents and my wife's parents have been married a total of 14 times when Donna and I got married 33 years ago. I didn't want you asking about things that happened in my life when I was little because I was sexually assaulted when I was 8 years old. And the stuff that I just mentioned about me pales comparison to the people that are in the room with you. If you men knew the stuff the women have gone through, we'd all be better men. From the time their bodies started changing when they were in 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, the fact of the matter is they got treated differently. Guys would say things to them. We would be better men if we could put ourselves. There's not a single student of color on your campus who at some time hasn't been pulled over or followed around by store security. What were they doing? Shopping. These are realities. And by the way, I'm a Caucasian guy, but I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I was born with a plastic spoon in my mouth. I don't want your sympathy, but I would take your empathy. I would take you trying to give me a little bit of love, and I'll try to give it to you. So number one, we're going to listen. Number two, we're going to have empathy. Number three, we're going to act. You're going to go to the Career Planning Center and get a file open. And by the way, what is your resume? Everything you've got online. That's what your resume is. So you better darn well check that YouTube. You better check your Facebook. You better make sure that everything you have out there is representative of who you think an employer wants to hire. It's time to do some editing. Once it's out there, It's part of your resume. Get active. You're going to get a business card and give it to me when I see you. You're going to get involved in campus activities, whether it's residence hall associations, student government, leadership organizations, fraternities or sororities, intramural teams. You're going to craft a resume that makes me want to hire you. Number 4, if you want something done right, you have to? Wrong. You just said do it yourself. What are you, an egomaniac? No, you're a sycamore. And that means if you want something done right, you delegate and let people help you. You listen to your voice. You have empathy for the voices of the other people you're working and living with. You get active on campus. Number 4, let people help you. Some of you have got personal problems. Talk to your RA. Go talk to your ombuds person. God, if there's anybody more open in the world than Al Perone and less judgmental, and he's from the freaking Bronx in New York, if you can't talk to Al, you're going to have some big problems. Or go see a professional counselor. They got great counselors in Indiana State. If you see one of your friends come out of the counseling office, I don't want to hear you say, wow, I didn't know Tim had problems. Because the only people in Indiana that don't have problems all live in the cemetery. The rest of us have got issues. So let's deal with them while we're in Indiana State. Let's build a curricular resume of our classes and our academic achievements that looks like, hey, I got to hire that guy. And let's build some co-curricular activities that show a well-rounded person. And if we've got problems, let's delegate and let people help us with them. Number 5, I want you to be enthusiastic. I do a lot of mock interviews. Last night I spoke at Oregon State University to the entrepreneurs group. It was exciting and thrilling. These are bright young people like you, excited, doing more than sitting at home right now being hungover. You're the ones that came to the leadership event. And the reality is when I do mock interviews, I go, why should I hire you? Here's what I get sometimes. Because I'm a people person. As opposed to what, a reptile person? For God's sakes, you need to be excited. This is your one and only life. You need to get jacked up. This is your time at Indiana State right now to set the banquet table for the feast you're going to eat the rest of your life. And not only will you eat off the table you set in Terre Haute, but your children and your parents, your mother who outlives her retirement will get to keep her home because you went to your classes in Indiana State and you achieved your maximum potential. Doesn't that make you feel proud inside? I want you to do that. Your daughter's going to come home someday and go, Mommy, I made the traveling team in softball. And you're going to go, you can play, honey, because I've got the $2,500 it costs because I took care of my business at Indiana State. Now you took care of yours. I want you to be enthusiastic and optimistic and quit listening to people my age that are telling you how tough the old days used to be. Tom Brokaw is a great news person and a great writer, but Tom Brokaw wrote a book called The Greatest Generation. It was about the World War II generation. And everybody in the room you're sitting in and everybody in the state I'm sitting in owe the World War II generation a great, great debt. But I wouldn't even have minded if he had said the greatest generation, ? But if he's right, the World War II generation was the greatest generation, hell, friends, we're pretty much on a downward slope now. We've had our heyday. The nation is pretty much done. You know who I'm hoping is the greatest generation? I'm hoping it's you. And why? Because Frida and Al and the VP and me, we're all going to grow old in a world you guys are in charge of. And I want you to know what I'm doing right now. I'm paying it forward. I don't want you pulling my plug early. I don't want you saying, Dr. Medicare, Schmedicare. The reality is you guys, we've left you, my generation, a lot of problems. I mentioned Peter Uberoth, one of my fraternity brothers, another great fraternity brother. He actually went to IU, wrote a couple of books. His name is Kurt Vonnegut. Right before he died, they said, Kurt, do you want to say anything to young people? He goes, yeah, I do. And there's a beautiful article in Rolling Stone magazine. You should Google it. He said, I am sick and tired of middle-aged baby boomers labeling every generation that comes after them. This generation, he was talking about you, this generation is as much Generation A as Adam and Eve were. And with the terrible problems we left these people with the economy, the nation, the environment, we should just shut up and hope to God they're better than we were. And I agree with him. So I'm hoping you guys are going to solve a lot of the problems that my generation has created. And I'm sorry that we've done that, because we've been too focused on us and we've been worried about our second homes and worried about all kinds of things that don't matter. You know what makes people happy? I'm going to tell you right now, you better hear me. What makes people happy is being needed. And that's why I'm happy, because my granddaughter isn't going to care how this speech went. My granddaughter, when she comes over Friday, she's going to go, Grandpa, let's go to the garden and see the pumpkins. I'm needed by my family, and you're needed by your family, and your university, and your state. Never has the world needed bright young people more than we need you now. That's why it's so important that you become a leader, and listen, and be empathic, and act, and delegate, and be enthusiastic. And number 6, I want you to be reflective. 30 minutes a day of exercise followed by 30 minutes of prayer, meditation, or contemplation. 30 minutes a day to exercise your body, and then 30 minutes a day to exercise your spirit. And I'm talking about, when I say that, I don't care if you're Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, Taoist, agnostic, atheist. Take 30 minutes a day. If you don't believe that there's anything other than what you see on earth, you're an American or a valued international student, believe what you want. But the next time you think you're such hot stuff, come out to Oregon where we got some old growth, stand at the base of an 800-year-old tree. 8 centuries that tree's be there. Look up at that tree and say, I'm greater than you are. And the tree will say, I poop bigger pine cones than you, brother, and I'll be here 200 years after you're gone. I want you all to find something in life, Kay, that you can spend 30 minutes a day thinking about. Who am I? Where am I? The big questions, not, oh, I have to find a job. You're not at Indiana State to get a job. You're at Indiana State to find your vocation, your calling. What do you do that's going to give you great joy? And that takes reflection. 30 minutes a day of exercise. Try doing curls like this rather than like this. Every time I've done curls like this in the past, very rarely have my problems done anything but got bigger. And frankly, friends, I can't think of a single mistake I made in college that wasn't directly related to my inability to say no when somebody offered me a beer. Hey, why'd you cheat on your girlfriend? Hell, I was too sober. Why'd you drive like an idiot? I hadn't had enough vodka. I'll talk more about alcohol when I'm on campus, and you got friends that have some problems. They're not bad people. They might be like me, a problem drinker. And what does that mean? A problem drinker is somebody that has problems when they drink. If you only drink once a year and you get arrested every time, you're a problem drinker. We'll talk about that when I'm on campus. But for now, 30 minutes a day of exercise, followed by 30 minutes of prayer, meditation, or contemplation. Number 7, I want you to be good stewards of your life. I'll end with that in just a minute, good stewards. Number 8, you must develop a sense of humor, because if you don't learn to laugh at yourself, other people will do it for you. You know, I've got big ears. I had these ears when I was in 4th grade, and I'd walk to school, and this guy, Kevin Brown, he'd go, hey, Keim, and I'd go, hey, what? I was an only child. Somebody was speaking to me other than my parents. I was thrilled. I'd go, hey, what? He'd go, I went home, I said, Mom, they're making fun of my ears. They say I have elephant ears. She goes, tell them big ears are a sign of intelligence. I could hardly sleep. The next day, hey, Keim, hey, what? Big ears are a sign of intelligence. Yeah, well, then you must be brilliant. Those guys always have a comeback. And it only is fun for them if you will let it get to you. If somebody says to you, how thick are your glasses? Try this. Not thick enough to make you look good. Hey, how much do you weigh? Come on over here. I'll sit on your lap. You get 3 guesses for $1. You got to learn to laugh at yourself and with others, not at them. Develop a sense of humor. Surround yourself with things that make you chuckle a little bit. And by the way, if you really want to learn to laugh at yourself, okay, go home, lock yourself in a bathroom, pull the shades down. Take off all your clothes, get buck naked. Put your arms out to the side and say to yourself and the mirror, this is the answer to someone's dreams. If that doesn't make you smile a little bit, you have bigger issues, go see a counselor. Number 9, I want you to be men and women of integrity. Say what you mean, do what you say, and when you don't admit it. If you told your boyfriends and girlfriends and partners and lovers at home you'd be faithful, be faithful. If you tell your coaches you're going to run 20 run sprints, then run 20. If you told your fraternity you live according to their principles, then live according to their principles. The reality is integrity means saying what you mean, doing what you say, and when you don't, admitting it. People will forgive you, but they don't forgive the spin, the piling on of layer after layer after layer of half-truths. Mark Twain, the great Missourian, once said, always tell the truth. It will amaze half the people and astonish the rest. And lastly, number 10, I want you to find your passion. When I found out you could get paid to give speeches, it was as if you went to a cow and said, hey, if you continue to poop, we're going to give you oats. And the cow would stick his tail out real straight and start dropping poop. By the way, a kid from Chicago, last time I was in Indiana State, said, Dr. Keim, why do they stick their tail out straight? I said, well, son, it's not really science. They don't want to poop on themselves. This isn't a big issue. The reality is I get paid to give speeches and spend time with you guys. Last night I went and did it on campus just because I was here and they asked. I love what I do. This isn't my job. It's who I am. Who are you? Where do you want to go? What's your passion? Some of you get excited about math. You go, oh my God, when the columns add up, I get orgasmic. I don't get it, but I don't have to because you're into math. But you got to find your passion. In the last national survey of the New York Times by the Gallup poll, 4 out of 5 people said they hate their jobs. 4, that's 80%. No wonder in America last year we spent $150 billion on alcohol and imported 150 metric tons of cocaine. We're the most sedated society since the fall of Rome. And why? Because if 80% of the people hate their jobs, then they have to go home and medicate themselves so they can get up the next morning and come to work. You don't have to be like that. Money doesn't make you happy. I'd rather be rich and happy than poor and happy. But the reality is what makes people happy is feeling needed. You got to find a place where you can make a difference. I've been friends with Al Perone for 30 years. He could have gone anywhere. He grew up in New York, but he came to Indiana State. He fell in love with the place, and he's given the place his life, as has my friend Frida. You know, the reality is there used to be a day when you made a commitment to a place that you were honored and trusted and even given a gold watch at the end of your years of service. Al and Frida could have moved anywhere, but they love Indiana State because of the kind of students, you, that go there, and they've given their lives to the place. What are you going to give your life to? What are you going to find passion about and learn to do it well enough that somebody will pay you to do it? That's my goal for you. I told you I'd end with stewardship. Stewardship's a weird concept. Whenever we say it, especially to church people, it means they want your money. But really, stewardship means taking care of yourself, taking care of your friends, taking care of your family, your city, state, nation, and world. We live in a tremendously interdependent world. There are international students from Indiana State, and by God, if you're not making friends with these people and developing relationships that will turn into business, or at least exotic places to go for vacations, you're really missing a boat. And those of you that are Americans, you're maybe the first American some of our international students meet. Treat them with grace and dignity and respect. Can you imagine being 12,000 miles away from home? Get them involved. Take them home for Thanksgiving. Make sure that when they go home and somebody says something derogatory about America, that somebody stands up in China or in Bangladesh, somebody stands up in India, somebody stands up in Germany and says, no, that's not the Americans I know. I was treated very well as a sycamore at Indiana State University. Find your passion. Become a good steward. Take care of yourself physically, spiritually, psychologically. Do your homework. Go to class. And be nice to people. And it's amazing. This is in the Bible, it's in the Talmud, it's in the Quran, it's in the Bhagavad Gita, and all of them agree on one thing, and that's this. If you give something away, it'll come back at you 100-fold. Give away love and care and concern and forgiveness and tolerance and acceptance, and it will come back at you the same way. You want mail? Send mail. You want friends? Be a friend. It's amazing how that works, and every major world religion has recognized it. The last thing I want to say to you is I look forward to seeing you in a month. I want to thank John at Horsepower Productions for making this video possible. He turned this around really quickly when I was drafted to stay home for an additional couple of weeks. Monique, thank you for your patience. I hope this works for you. By the way, Al, Frida, you guys can copy this video as you see fit. It shouldn't be that expensive. If you think it's a lot, call us. I'll have John make copies so that the students can have it. But I can't wait to be there in a month and spend about a week with you in Terre Haute, catching up with some old friends and speaking to you face to face. Please come up and introduce yourself and let me know that you were at the leadership event at ISU. Here's what I want to say to you in conclusion. The day you were born, the day your blessed mothers gave birth to you, you had 25,000 days left. That's a full life. Here's the wake-up call. The youngest one of you in the room right now, the youngest one of you has already spent 6,500 of your 25,000 days getting to the Indiana State University. Translation, 1/4 of your life is already over. How's it going? And if you look like deer in headlights, which most of my audiences do when I say that, no, my life hasn't started, dude. No, your life started when you flew out of your mom and to teach you how life was going to be. They whacked you in the butt and made you cry. And if you're a girl, they put you in swaddling clothes and put you on your mother's breast. And if you're a boy, most of you, they laid you on a little metal thing. And then you were laying there wondering why that doctor had scissors and a knife, and then you found out. The reality is, you still got 18,500 days left. If you've been knocked around like me by life a little bit, you can handle stuff some of these other people have only read about in their psychology textbooks. If it didn't kill you, it made you stronger. Am I trying to sell you something right now? Am I selling you my books? Am I selling you my videotapes? No, I'm trying to sell you you. And if I ask you over there, you with the hat, if I ask you for that hat, you could give it to me because you got it. If I ask you for water over there, you could give me water because you got it. If I ask you for a briefcase, you could give me it because you've got it. But if I ask you for love and respect, and you don't love and respect yourself, how the hell can you give me something you don't have? It's time for you all, especially you undergraduates, to understand that you're survivors. You've made it. You've been knocked down, but you got up. You're at Indiana State University, a place I love because the students that go there generally are from homes where people have to work for a living. They're not trust fund babies. And you know what hard work is because you've seen it and you're willing to put it in at ISU to set the banquet table for the glorious feast you're going to eat the rest of your life. I've already spent 15,000 of my days. I've only got 10,000 days left. As I look behind me when I stand up in a minute, I'll see Mary's Peak. And you know what I'll know? I'll know that long after I'm gone, all the trees you see and that mountain will be here when I'm gone. Life goes quickly. Why would you waste one day hungover? Why would you waste one day sitting in your residence hall feeling sorry for yourself? Why wouldn't you open your door, go out onto the community and meet some people and take advantage of the 15,000 days that I've spent? They've gone like this. I have gone over the hill. I can see the finish line. That's why I don't waste time. I've only got 10,000 days left. You, on the other hand, have 18,500, most of you, and all I want is when you look in the mirror tonight and take off your makeup or brush your teeth or floss or whatever the heck you do, all I want you to be able to do is to look in the mirror and not have to turn your head away because you know you weren't as good as you could have been today. You want a big future, you make a big today. You want a glorious path, you begin taking the first step today. Lao Tzu, the writer of the Tao Te Ching, said, "The journey of 1,000 miles begins beneath your feet." Meaning, you want to go 1,000 miles, you want a good job, you want a successful life, you want somebody to love you, then you have to pick up your foot, as hard as it is sometimes, and take one step. I'll see you in about a month. Again, it's a pleasure to be with you on video. It's also nice to honor Dr. Lee Guernsey, who gave his entire life to the students at Indiana State University. This has been done in his honor. God bless you all, and take care. Go Sycamores.